Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good morning. It's the 24th of June. I think I said the 25th in an earlier video. It's the 24th of June. And here's what we know. It appears that yesterday, the Wagner mercenary forces came under fire in Ukraine. And according to Prigozhin, 2,000 of his force of 27,000 died, were eliminated. That leaves him, he claims, with 25,000 men. 25 battle-hardened, ruthless men. There is video footage that shows this force marching out of Ukraine and into the Rostov region, specifically Rostov-on-Don. Now, there's a couple of things to know about Rostov-on-Don. It's a major logistics hub for the Russian army in Ukraine. That means two things. If it's in control of the Wagner forces, arms, ammunition, and supplies will not be flowing from there. On top of that, we know that last week, the Ukrainian military eliminated the ammo dumps, the 7 major ammo dumps in Crimea and southern Ukraine, and cut 2 critical rail bridges to prevent further resupply of Russian troops in Zaporizhia and Kherson. This is a real problem for them now, because the supply lines from Rostov-on-Don are now cut. Nobody on the Russian side is getting ammunition in southern Ukraine anytime soon. This is what we know. We know that 60% of the police force in Rostov-on-Don did not show up for work this morning. Now, is that because they're just going to stay home, stay out of Prigozhin's way? Or have they signed up with him? Prigozhin has made a call to all former Wagner PMC forces in Russia to join back up. He has put out a call to the tens of thousands of folks that have fought with him before in Syria and in other places around the globe, Africa specifically, on behalf of the Russian military, to come out and now fight against the Russian military. We know that there have been at least 2 engagements between regular forces of the Russian military and the Prigozhin forces. In addition, there has been a confrontation, an armed confrontation, with what you'd call like the Russian equivalent of the National Guard in the U.S. But it's important to recognize that the National Guard in Russia is not like the National Guard in the United States, guys. These guys don't have the training. They're not regularly retooled. It's not a fair fight. If that's all that Putin can send against him, it's a problem. And of course, the main body of the Russian military is tied up elsewhere. Russia has an additional terrorist reaction response team, or teams. And these are separate units from the regular military, internal to Russia, intended to be deployed in cases like this, where there's strife inside the country. And these guys are better armed, better trained, better equipped, everything. But again, the problem is Prigozhin, apparently, by all accounts, holds Rostov-on-Don. He sacked the military headquarters, and it's a supply hub. There's lots of arms and ammunition and heavy equipment and armored vehicles there, right? If he left Ukraine with, say, 10 tanks, he could now have 1,000 tanks. Probably not 1,000. I'm just making these numbers up. These are not real numbers. The point is, there's lots of arms and ammunition there, and it's now in his control. He has fired on Russian forces. Russian forces have fired on him. but he's still kissing Putin's ass. He has said, he has blamed in a recent video on Telegram that the war is all Shoigu's fault, that Shoigu started it all. So he's still not calling for regime change. He says he's not calling to replace Putin. Nothing like that, right? But the die is cast. Could this thing still be settled through back-channel communication between old buddies? It's possible. It's not impossible. Could it also spiral out of control? Absolutely. At this point, I would say that is what we know.